So if you open the installation guide that I provided on eClass in Module 5, so here, actually you had that, yeah. So you see that you have several files, right? SQL Server Installation Guide, which I'm explaining now. And I also provided some documentation. Like, these are just some links. You can have more information in case you're like thinking whether I'm going to use Azure or not, if I'm going to use Azure Data Studio, or I'm going to, for example, use VS Code. So these are like good references to help you with that. Just a quick note, if for all of us have to set up SQL Server somewhere, right? Either you're installing it on your computer or you're using SQL Server somewhere on the cloud. I'm going to explain the cloud part, which is set up SQL Server in Microsoft Azure portal. And we'll let you know how to do it for free using your student account. And then, so once we set up SQL Server, we have to use some tools to connect to it, right? So you can use anything you like for that. You can use SSMS, that is only for Windows, or you can use Azure Data Studio. You can install VS Code, or if you already have that, I would highly recommend VS Code because you can use it for other programmings. And also, Microsoft itself announced that they are going to retire Azure Data Studio in February 2026, which means at some point, even if you're installing Azure Data Studio, which I used in my previous classes, and it was very user-friendly, and I really loved it, but it's going to retire. And so at some point, you have to migrate it to VS Code or something else, right? So then I'm going to explain how to use VS Code, and for that you need this extension, add this extension, so that you can connect to your SQL Server, right? This is where, when you have VS Code installed, as you see in this computer here, this is where you can connect to your database, right? Now, in order to connect to your database, you have to first create that on a SQL Server, which you have to use either local or on the cloud. So I'm going to explain the cloud part. So go to Azure portal. Here, you have to set up an account. How many of you have already created an Azure free account? Okay, nice. So for those of you, I think one of you asked me today that this is not free and some amounts like were shown. So probably you didn't use the student account. But even for me that I'm not a student, I'm still using the free account. And I'm going to explain how that works. So you go to the link that I provided, like here. And you use Try Azure for free, right? So for now, if I select this, because I already have the account, I can log in, okay? But for you, you can use that. And I also provided a link for the students part, right? So you can just use this one. This is for the student one. And then starting free. And then you have to verify your identity using a phone number and a credit card. If you are using the student account, so if you are using your student email and going through a link that I provided in my announcement for the student login, it will not even ask you for a credit card, okay? So 90%, I'm sure that you will not even see that message. But for like a small percentage of you who prefer not using your York email, or for any other reason you want to use Azure free account like for regular people, you will see credit card information. And I promise you it doesn't deduct any amount from your card. I'm using it for a year and it doesn't deduct anything. You just have to know how to set it up, okay? So first of all, you have to create a resource. So you go here, click on create a resource. So you have it somewhere here. So if you go to the home page, you have created a new resource, right? And here you just find the SQL database, which is actually here. Now, here is the tricky part. So when you enter information here, you see that there are some amounts in dollar, okay? If you're using, again, if you are using your student account, this will not show up. But if not, and if you see this amount, you have to make sure that you're following these instructions, that for the subscription, you have to select the free trial, okay? So after you select the free trial, for, you already have an Azure account, and it knows that. So I think I won't be able to show you this, but I can explain it from here, okay? No, so you enter like database name, server name, anything. So you can use any name for your database name, like ECS3421 or anything you like, and server name. And I think for server name, all should be in lowercase, but you'll get the error if not. And if you follow like step by step what I've written here, you will see something like this, okay? So after you fill out the form here, as I explained in the installation guide, if you do all the setup here, then this amount should be 0, like I show in the screenshot here, okay? So I give you like a few minutes to do this. I know that some of you have already did that, so I don't want to spend so much time for the setup. And do you have any question here? Have any of you faced any issues? For example, not seeing. Yeah. I'm here to just fix the issues for the Azure setup now.
Oh, okay. So it's already.
Yeah. And then a review or review plus create. Yeah. Just go back and make sure that everything else is the same as I explained. Because I explained something for compute plus storage. Yeah. So, okay, it's already set up. You can go back. Yeah. And then, yeah, review create. Okay. So, so for example, one issue that I saw just now, if you have this similar problem, if you don't see $0, you have a message on top of the page which asks you to have a button like apply offer, okay? So please click on apply offer, which is your student free offer, okay? So click on apply offer, then you will realize that this amount will be 0, okay? Once it's 0, you just click on create here, review plus create, okay? And then you are set up. Now, step 3, I explained allowing your IP address, because once you set up your SQL server there, you add your new resource. Often when you want to connect, for example, let's say you are in VS Code trying to connect to your SQL database, you get an error, okay? That is to address that error if you face that. You have to allow your IP address so that it can trust it. Do you have any question here? So you should have some like messages here. I don't have because I'm not a student, but you will have. And then apply the offer. Click on apply offer here. And yeah, and then just review plus create, okay? So now assuming that we have created our SQL server and SQL database, right? You should be able to go, for example, to the show networking setting, right? And adding an IP address here. So this is how you do that. So you just add, for example, add your client IP address, click on that. Then you make sure that this is checked, right? Allow Azure services and resources to access this server, and then save, okay? So now I made sure that I allowed this IP address, I added this IP address also so that I would be able to connect to my database. Okay, so do you have any problem on how to creating a new resource or SQL database? So is it clear how to do it now? How many of you have issues here? Yeah, you maybe used some reserved words. DB database windows, these are maybe the problem. Just use, for the server name, use something like ECS 3421, something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But I'm trying to do them VS Code as well.
Create a connection. So you are already in VS Code, right? So
no,
just,
this is Azure.
Yeah, okay.
And this is VS Code. But I'm trying to
Which
use
one do
like
you
the
want to
same.
use?
I want to use VS Code now. This is what you said. I'm trying to connect with the same login credentials, but it's not working.
Is it your username?
Isn't this like the username we're supposed to use?
No, it's not with Azure. It's the username for your database. Yeah.
This is what I created.
Yeah.
I didn't. Should I do that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Please click on apply offer in the purple box on top of the page, okay? That is when the amount comes to $0. Apply the offer, use that. Yeah, probably because you're using the student account. This was for me just to reduce it to $0. So yeah, it's fine.
And then search for SQL.
Let's sign in again just to avoid a problem. But then you can just release. In this case, do you have like Gmail or another email? Yeah. You can follow my instructions, use that. It's still free. You only have to provide credit card information, but I promise you make sure that it doesn't reduce any amount from you, and that's fine. Yeah. Just add the email that you personal email. The next step is go to yeah. Even if you go to home, always you see everything. Yeah, and then you go to your database, and like both of them, I can show you what they have. For example, this one is where you can find your server name and everything. So you have to provide your server name, for example, in VS Code to connect to your database, right? So you need to copy that. If you go hover here, or the most here, you can copy it, right? Okay. So you can copy it for the connection. Yeah. And then click on the server. Yeah. And here, you go to the networking. This is where you can actually go to add the selected network. Sorry, and now it's called. Okay, so go down. This is where, if in case you got some errors when you want to connect to your database about your IP address, this is where you can add your IP address, just in case. And then at the end, you have to make sure that you check this allow Azure services. This one. Click this. Yeah, this. Yeah, and then save. And that's, yeah. Yeah, this is when you want to connect your database. If you get an error like regarding your IP address, this is how you can add it. So you go to. So it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So that's just. Let me show you. Go to home. And then here, selected network. And then scroll down. And here, it just explains how you can add your IP address. For example, if you're using another computer, a new computer to log into your database, then just adding that. So, yeah, that's all. So let me explain to everyone. Okay, so just because I was getting several similar questions, first of all, make sure you apply the offer here, okay? So that to make this amount to $0. Do you see that? This amount comes to $0 once I apply the offer. So that's the first question I get. Second question, so whatever you like write for your server name once you create this, right? So whenever you go to your home page, all the information are always in your home page in Azure account, okay? If you go to your database, right, you can find your server name. So for those of you ask me what you should enter for your server name, this is how you can find it, right? So you just copy here, and then you go to VS Code, right? And then paste your server name here. This is your server name. Now, you have to also trust it. For authentication type, you have to select SQL login. Username and password is what you have provided for your database. This is your database username and password. For example, my username is test admin, and my password is secret. And your database name is not mandatory. And then the only thing you have to do, I think that's it. And then connect. Hopefully it connects. Yeah, and now I'm connected to my SQL server, right? And now I can see all the databases I've created before. For example, I've created a database ECS3421DB1. Now, what is this database? This is what you have created in your Azure account, right? So here you can find all the information that you need to connect to your SQL server, okay? So I already showed how to create a new SQL database on Azure Cloud Service, right? Now that we have that, so once you're in your home page, you can see your SQL server, you have your database and everything. So this is the database that we created, right? Now, go back to VS Code. So this is exactly the database that I've created, right? Now, under this database, I'm going to show you today how to create tables and how to work with that. And so go back here. So this is what you're doing. Create a new resource from the beginning. Click on create SQL database. If you have an offer here, apply the offer so that this amount goes to 0. For the subscription, you have to use the student accounts or whatever that makes this amount to 0, right? The important thing is that you have to know what is your database name and server name, and you can use whatever name that you like. For example, I used ECS3421 for my database name. You can use any name you like. And for server, the same. You just have to make sure you don't use any capital letters in your server name. It should all be lowercase. And also, you don't have to use reserved words. And then, what else? For the compute storage, when you click here, this is basically if you are using your student account. I've noticed from some of you that you don't even need this part, okay? For me, because I didn't have the free account of the students, I had to come here and use a tier like the basic. You see, when I use basic, it's $5, right? And did some extra steps to make it come down to $0. For you, you're applying a student offer, you are already $0. So you may not even need to click on that, okay? And what else I wanted to explain here? And that's it. And then you just click on review plus create, and then you it may take like a few minutes, the deployment. You receive a message for the deployment process, which takes just a few minutes. So are we good? Just to move on to, yeah, I'm coming. Because I'm going to, like in 2 minutes, I'm going to start explaining the table creations and everything. Yeah.
Problem. The location is incorrect. So we sign up using the student account.
Can you go to homepage and start from the beginning?
Homepage?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Create a resource. SQL database. Search
or
for.
can search it.
Yeah, just enter and then it will come.
SQL database.
This one?
Yeah, the second one. And click on create. The plan.
Here. Okay, create. Oh, yeah. This should be good. Apply offer. The Azure for students.
And just create new or something,
I think create new.
And I think the name should be like ECS 3421.
Or any name you like. You can use any name you like.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever database name you like. That doesn't matter. What is your name? What is your name? You can just, yeah, you can just use your name, DB, something, anything. Yeah, server name also the same. Yeah, create new server. Are you using VPN?
No. Wait, is that
Because if you're using VPN, it may not showing your location in Canada.
I'm not sure if is that the region?
These are all Chinese. I don't know.
No, just the language. I'm not sure if it's like a laptop's original settings.
Oh, go back. Oh, you cannot. Okay, anything. So you can just randomly. Yeah. Yeah, that's. It thinks your location is in China for some reason, but that doesn't matter. You just continue. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so just a few students have always this problem. If that's the case, use your Gmail or any other email that you have, and then follow all the instructions that I have. So, okay, so let's start. Just give me a second. Okay.